Thank you, Presiding Officer. On the 18th of September, the Scottish people will be given a chance to vote and answer the question, should Scotland be an independent nation? And the Yes camp have made a very positive case for why Scotland indeed should be an independent nation. And the other camp, the Better Together camp, have just given us a bunch of fear stories and a negative assessment of Scotland's opportunities of independence. But Better Together always leaves me with a question, and it's one I would ask the Scottish people who are still undecided that they should ask themselves. Better for whom? We're not better together for the people affected by the bedroom tax. We're not better together for those who are using food banks. And we're certainly not better together for those experiencing the indignity of workability assessments. No, thank you. But what I question most about the whole situation at the moment is how we can possibly be better together in a country whose overriding economic trend is to one of wider inequality. That means lack of social mobility, low wages, low productivity, and an economic model that will lead us to a less prosperous country. No, thank you. On the 14th of July this year, the BBC analysis programme on the radio broadcast an episode called The End of the Pay Rise? And it states, something strange has been happening to the British economy. Over 6 years now, wages have fallen for most of us, which is unprecedented in British modern history. And despite the return of economic growth, wages have not picked up. So what has happened? And crucially, is this a long-term problem, and is it the end of the pay rise? There are many contributors to the programme, including Paul Johnson, the Director of the Institute of Fiscal Studies, not someone I would normally quote in this chamber, I have to say. But it does explore the direction that the UK is going in terms of wages and the prospects for people on low wages in our economy. And it's not just the BBC and analysis who have raised these concerns. The CIPD, the professional body of HR in the UK and internationally, published a megatrends document, which is the trends in shaping of work and working lives. And they indeed asked the same question: have we seen the end of the pay rise? And the key summaries for this document make worrying reading for people who are living in the UK. Since January 2009, average weekly earnings, including bonuses, have fallen by 8%. It also states that the pattern is widespread across workforce, affecting women in public, private sectors, women and men, all parts of the UK and most industries. It's a drop in real earnings that has been slightly greater at the top of the earnings distribution than at the bottom. And it's even worse for self-employed people. They've seen an even bigger drop in real-term average earnings of sometimes between 20 to 30% in the 3 years from 2010 to 2011. And what the analysis programme and what this document shows them is if we continue on the US model of a low-wage economy, low productivity economy, which most of the economic experts tell us the UK is heading at the moment, we will end up in the position of the US. And between 2008 and 2012, the average earnings fell in real terms in many OECD countries. In fact, 5 of those of which there are data on, no thank you. But in the USA, real earnings for medium full-time workers are no higher in 2013 than they were in 1979. If we continue on the road to low productivity, low-wage economy and inequality in the UK, then we will end up with a situation as in the UK, and ask that question, better together from whom? Not for ordinary workers who are living and working in the UK context at the moment. And what's really interesting about some of this analysis, and the HR study does, is it does look and ask the question about who this has most affected across the OECD countries. And it's no surprise that when you look at the current situation and they ask the question of employees, if you compare your current situation with that of January 2009, have you experienced a change in the following aspects of your work? Your salary. And those who have experienced an increase in salary, not surprisingly, include Denmark, Netherlands, Finland, Norway and Sweden. Those small northern European countries with similar prospects to Scotland as an independent nation, who continue to buck the trend of the economics, who reduce inequality in their countries and are developing a model that can go forward. Presiding Officer, we just heard the cultural conference in this Parliament this weekend, and Simon Arnold of East Anglia University presented a very interesting table of analysis done about how good a country is. And despite some of the disparaging comments from Better Together representatives about some of our neighbours like Ireland and Iceland, the Good Country Index, which measures not what country does at home, but what it does is greater good to the wider world, the one that tops that table is the Republic of Ireland. And not surprisingly again, in the top 5 we have Finland, Switzerland, Netherlands, Denmark, countries of which we can aspire to have a similar inequality, a progressive economic model and prosperous future for our country.